Hello everyone. Good evening. Am I audible? Can you confirm it once?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Okay. So good evening everyone. Let's start from my introduction. My name is Jasmine Tumal. Currently, I'm a third-year undergraduate student pursuing BTech in Computer Science and Engineering. So I will be here to do a info session on Flutter to learn about Flutter more and more. So I have also my partner here, Srijan Sovit. Do you want to give your introduction?
Yes, sir. So, hello everyone. I am Srijan Shobit, a second year student of EC branch, and I am one of the Flutter leads along with Asmit sir in GDSC and IT Patna. That's all from my side, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Thank you, Srijan. Anyone else want to give his or her introduction to make this session more interactive? Okay.
Don't shy, guys. It's just an interactive session like chit chat.
If anyone wants to give his or introduction, he can freely speak up that. There is no restriction for that. So let's not waste time. Let's get started. For any queries, you can write on the chat box, or you can freely speak, unmute yourself and speak if you have any query during my presentation. So let's start it. Is my screen visible, Srijan? So everyone, I will be presenting a info session for Flutter. So what is Flutter? So Flutter is basically a Google UI new framework that is used for building, and these Flutter has got very new remarkable milestones and it's getting more popular every day by day. So let's get started for this. So, as you know, there are two types of approaches for developing application development. One is the tutor metal approach, that is basically a native application development that we used to do from Java and Kotlin for the Android and for Swift and C development. And the second approach is to use a cross-platform approach. Cross-platform approach includes example like Xamarin, React Native. So here is the brief introduction of these difference between the native and cross-platform approaches with their cons and pros. So let's go from the native approaches. So like when we do a native approach, like developing Android application from Android Kotlin or iOS from Swift, we get a high quality apps as the integrated language, as Android supports these languages deeply. That's why we can get a platform system integrated easily and we can develop high quality apps. They also have a high performance as these are native codes and we have a GPU acceleration for that. The limitation is like the life application. Mobile platform currently are popular like Android and iOS. Like for having both application, I have to maintain a two team. Having a two team means I have two code bases. One will be Java, and second will be in Swift. And hence there will be two types of investment. We require more and more people for the investment. We will have a different code bases for both these applications. So this is the limitation. Second limitation is like inconsistent brand and feature. Like when we develop in Android, there are some different structure styles. Like slider is different in the Android field, Android application, but the slider is different in iOS. So we can get different across different features operating across different devices. Talking about my cross-platform approaches, we have fast development as they support quick integration and hot reload. They can be done very record time. They have a good portability and reach as we have to maintain only a single that run on the Android also, iOS also, web also, embedded system also. But they have a poor performance. They are slow, jerky, and unpredictable. Means like these are not native languages, so they can be which may look feel bad when people cross them. Same like this, they don't have a non-native look. Means like user can tell the difference that from Android or Swift language, these are used for some. So what Flutter does, Flutter basically combines the both the pros of these features. Means like I have the native approaches, features on native approaches as well as cross-platform approaches. Means we can develop a high-quality native application with fast development and with a single code base. So as I said, Flutter is a Google UI framework, and it helps developer craft high quality applications across multiple platforms in record time. Record time, I will come to that later. How that's record time, but let's go for that now. So Flutter offers the best of both the worlds. Flutter combine native performance and qualities. These are the features of native approach. Development and multi-platform features. These are the approach. Both the features of both the development and can have do really quite in the development field. So here's the UI toolkit, or we can say structure of Flutter, how Flutter works. Like you can see, sorry, we have this material. Material is basically a material UI that is used for Android development, and Cupertino here refers the Cupertino styles that are used for iOS development. Anybody know what is material UI? So Material UI is basically these days a very popular framework UI that have a we can say a aim or punchline like to make the app features minimalistics. It means not 3D effects, not that much, but a minimalistic view. So this is the material view, and for the iOS we have a Cupertino view. So framework of Dot have two types of these views, which is inherited by widgets, and then we have a renderers which and then we have animation, painting, and gestures. These are native features which have frameworks, and then we have a foundation, means basically our app structure. This is the code. Then this code is then compiled by the C++ engine, which is basically embedded in Flutter, is using the SkyA and Dart and text. With these two parts, we then get a native application. Like for the iOS host, we get the iOS part of the language, and then for the Android host, we get a separate Android. A single code is then compiled to iOS and Android host both. Support web and also the desktop like PC and Linux, Mac, Windows, etc. Next is same the features like high velocity development. You can use Flutter, and like if you have done programming from Android or Kotlin, like say you have to change the text and you have to re-render the screen, then this takes much of time and doing the reloading and building the Gradle files again. But with the Flutter, you can do that in a second. Means just you change the text and click on hot reload button. It takes, I think, so that's a good point of Flutter. Same, it has a flexible code toolkit, and it has a vast variety of APIs and widgets. Like if you, they are also cross-platform other techniques like React Native, but I prefer Flutter more because it has a vast variety of widgets and APIs. Means React Native you have to make a component from scratch, but in the Flutter you get a vast variety of widgets. I will show you that later. Same, we have a native iOS and Android application with Flutter. So here is what I mean the high velocity development. As you can see, he's changing the counter plus plus to counter minus minus, and just he said it take about 363 milliseconds, and then the function started working. So it take very less time. You can have a reload time in sub-seconds. You can paint your app very quickly. You can iterate rapidly on the features, and you can test the prototype very easily. That's all possible with Flutter, which is somewhat I feel difficult with native approaches. I don't have much experience on that. So with all these points, Google claims to have a 3 into productivity gains through Flutter. Next is flexibility and control for beautiful UIs. Means Flutter is having the best point of Flutter is that they have a vast variety of widgets and have a great APIs. Like the benefit is that like you can control every part of the screens. Means if you have to make on components, you have to make the different features, different APIs, endpoints. But with the Flutter, you can get all the arguments and endpoints very easily, and they can support a vast variety of application and features. So when you will start doing Flutter, you will learn to know how that is much popular in than other frameworks. This is the natively apps for iOS and Android. Like the main benefit of Dart is like It compiles directly to native ARM code and does not use any bridges. Bridges our application. Bridges are used in other frameworks like Ionic and other framework, cross-platform framework, which basically slow down our app. But this Flutter don't use that. Flutter directly compiles it to native ARM code and it's then render it on a screen. We can get a smooth 60 FPS and GPU accelerated features also. Deep platform integration is also possible with Flutter, which was somewhat delicate or we can say a complex in other frameworks. These are the some of the companies around the world that are currently building or building their applications with Flutter. Google is the main developer. We can say the one who started the Flutter, and then we have other companies like Groupon Capital, JD, and Alibaba's. These all are basically help developing their application with Flutter. Some of the examples, as you can see, are here. This application is developed by Flutter. Even the new Google Pay, if you use UPI system with the Google Pay, that proves that how much secure and how fast it is. You can go through the Google Page if you don't use this video. So basically, this video mentions that how fast you can do the animation without any lagging with a 60 FPS and animation. 60 FPS means 60 frames per second. So with the features of deep graphic initialization with Flutter, you can get a smooth animations and a great real-time speed with Flutter. Same. This is one of the review from the Hamilton, which says that they were able to make a new Flutter application within 3 months with Flutter code. And these are the some popular tools and platforms. Let me go through the ones. Android Studio is a IDE used for developing Android application. Now it also supports Flutter extension. Export is basically used for making Swift application, but you can also do Flutter, I think. This is the VS Code, you all know, and this is the Firebase. Those who don't know Firebase, Firebase is basically a backend as a service, means you don't have to worry to setting up a server for authentication, cloud storage, and database. Firebase basically abstract all these things and give you a proper endpoint with just a package. Same, these are Android native APIs. We have iOS APIs. These are material designs. Material designs are the features I will tell you later. And Redux is a state management that you will come across sometime. Next, in community, we have a great access in repositories. We have GitHub stars over 24,000 and 500 apps on. And the main point of having Flutter is like it's currently support a vast variety of developers. Means you can find many developers around the globe. And like you, when you want, I stuck in some part of the Flutter, I just use the Stack Overflow or some other website, and I can easily get the answer. This proves that Flutter is supported by many developers right now. Some of the ways to start a Flutter is like you can start a Flutter from the scratch. Just if you don't know Android development or iOS development from Java or Swift, you can learn straight away Flutter, which uses Dart language. I will tell you that later. Or you can use a prototype or designing the new app ideas. And the main, also the point benefit of Flutter is that like you have already have a Java application which is already running smoothly. But now you want to integrate Flutter also, so you can easily do that. Means if you already have an iOS and Android app, you can integrate Flutter with it so that you can get the Flutter features also. Same like you can use Flutter for part of your apps, means main part you have done with Android, Java, and Swift, but you want some feature of Flutter, so you can easily do that. Uh, Before moving to CodeLab, I want to ask if anyone have any query related to Flutter. You can write on the chat screen or even speak up. Anyone don't have any doubt with Flutter, Dart, or anything in the PPT, or even in my way of presenting? You can freely speak that. Okay. If you don't have a doubt, that's great. Uh, let's wait for 1 minute. We will start continuing from there. This will be the main part where I will be using hands-on on the Flutter, so you can get also experience. That was the whole PPT explained, and now we will get the best experience from the Flutter, where I will try to understand you from the code. Just have a minute. Srijan, do you want to add any points which may I have missed?
No such point.
So before moving to Dart Code Lab, I will tell you that Flutter uses Dart language for developing Flutter application. If you don't know Dart, Dart is basically you can say just like a JavaScript. If you are a web developer, means it's same like a JavaScript. Means you how to declare variable classes objects. It's somehow or more same like a JavaScript. But if you are a Android developer or Swift developer, where you have used Java, Kotlin, or Swift, there is some difference, but it's not too much. Like if we get on the link, let's see here. This is basically an intro to Dart language for Java developers. So if you know Java or have developed Android application before that and you don't know whether you want to go for Dart or not, so here are some of the code labs that you may want to work on. Like here, how to create a simple Dart class. Like if you are a Java developer, you know how to create a class like public class name and then the arguments, and inside that there will be a constructor, variables, and the member functions. But in the Java, in the Dartpad, you can use the Dartpad for online application. If anyone wants to open, they can use this Dartpad. I'm pasting the link on the description. So basically, this is a Dartpad, an online made to learn Java, Dart, test Dart languages. So as you can see, here I have a main function where I use the for loop here, which is basically the same like C or C++, or you can say JavaScript. Anyone knows how what is this dollar and curly braces? Anyone from JavaScript developer? No one wants to speak. Let's not waste time. So basically, dollar and these curly braces are interpolable variables. Means like I have a string and I want to insert a variable inside it. So what we can use a dollar and then curly brace and inside that variables or a Dart code, which will then which will then get it values and then convert it into a string. So rather than doing like hello and plus and and I plus 1.2 string. So basically it does the whole part. So having a this much long string where I have to convert the this variable to a string and then concatenate to the string, what we can do, we can simply use the dollar and then the variable name, and it automatically do all our work. So this is basically a Dart. Like I have to make a class. This is a class definition for the bicycle where I have a cadence and speed and gear. Like, and this is the way for this is a big way and this is the small way for having a constructor in our class. Like if you are Java developer, let's say you want to create a bicycle. So what you can do, what in Java you get a bicycle constructor inside it with the arguments like speed and gear, and then create like this dot speed is equal to speed and this dot gear is equal to gear. This is the long way. You can also do like this on the Flutter, Dart. But the easy way is to have remove this function, remove the curly braces, and use inside it like this dot speed and this dot here. So basically, it all bicycle. So basically, it calls a constructor like this only, where you don't have to make a this dot speed is equal to speed, and this is a shorthand way of defining a constructor. And these here are because I haven't initialized these variables. You can initialize this variable. So like this, you can do in Dart language. This is basically a class introduction for Dart. And next part is like optional parameters. Like, do you know anyone knows Java overloading? Function overloading or class overloading in Java. So it happens what when we have the same function name but different number of arguments, we call it as a class overloading or function overloading. When the same function have a same name but different number of parameters. Example like function f, and we have a argument is speed here, and the second function with the same name with two variables is here. Now this is there we have a two function with the same name but different number of variables. This is known as class overloading or function overloading. In spite of using class overloading here, what we use optional parameters, or we can say name parameters. Like we can create a function fn with the curly braces. These curly braces have name this dot class. So basically, these are optional parameters. You don't need to initialize name or class for each of the function calling. You just need to. Let me give you an example. Like here. So here you can see we have a class rectangle. We have which have a width, height, and origin. This point class is already present in our math class, so we don't have to make a point class for having a two-dimensional point. We can easily inherit, or we can easily import it from the Dart math class. So we have a three functions here: width, height, and origin. Now inside a constructor, this dot width. Let's start with origin. This dot width. This dot height. So basically, we initialize three variables inside our constructor. So we said that this origin is equal to origin. We set the origin value here, and we set the width value here and the height value here. Let's call this function, class. Make an object for this class. New rectangle. New keyword also. In Dart 2.5, we don't require new, but if you want, you can use that. Because you can see here a warning, not a warning but a linting, that unnecessary new keyword. We can without any effect we can remove that. So inside this origin, let's only develop only one variable. We have width, not like this, width equal to 20. Like you can see here in the first part we have initializes all the three variables. In the second part we have only one variable, and the third part we have one variable with width and here point. And in this we don't have any arguments passed here. So you can see without having a overloading, we can use the same class with any number of arguments. This is the main benefit, or we can say one of the feature of Dart, where we don't have to use object overloading. We can simply create an optional parameters here, which then takes values, and we can also pass the default value here if you don't want to have a value. So means if width is not present, then the width is already taken as 50, But if width is present, then the width is set to 20. Anyone having doubt in this functional overloading?
Their mics are disabled, so if you could please enable their mic because they are not presently.
No, presenter mode is on, I think, for everyone. Does anyone have problem in unmuting their mic?
Hello, Asma.
Yeah, Digvijay.
Yeah, so I want to let you know that attendees do not have access to unmute themselves. Only we can make them presenter, and only then they can unmute themselves. Okay.
So like, uh,
So
so
while yeah, I can do that. If
okay,
suppose
that will be
anyone
very. Uh-huh.
yeah, so if anyone has doubts, they can put their doubts in chat section, and we will let we will provide them with their presenter access, and then they sounds good.
So if any, basically, if anyone have doubt, they can they raise their hand or type in the chat section. We will give them the presenter access, and then they can unmute and release their query. Is that right, Digvijay?
Yeah, Asma.
Okay. So anyone having any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So this was the same. We have can create a factory. We can create an interface, and you can all go for this. This is this part. I would like to create one introduction. What is functional programming? So functional programming is the feature I think Java don't support it or was added I think in the JDK 8 release. So functional programming is like having a variable with a function. Means you can assign a function to a variable. You can pass a function to a variable. You can deconstruct the functions. You can do anything like just you do with a normal variable. Means apart from along with int, bool, and different methods, you can have function also as a arguments. Like here you can see we have created a scream function which takes a length and we just get this output. Let me open it in the notepad. So yeah, you can take here we have a values, and for each values we are having a function which is known as scream, and it prints the number of a, and then we have an interpolable sign which indicates that this small one a have to be repeated along with the size of length. This length value is coming from these values which is then passed from the for variable one by one. We then pass this one value to this length function argument, and then we print a number of a's according to this length variable. Like if we want to change the values 1 2 3 5 4 6, so our a's will be different in our last part. Hmm, you can see this is basically a functional programming. You have other features like you can map the scream function. Means you have a stream function, you pass that stream function to a map function. Means you have function. This is function programming, and then with the function returning the values, you then again pass it to a function which is a print function for printing the value that is returned from this part value.map screen. So if let me give you a introduction. Okay. Instead of that line, we can create a simple values. We have map each function. Means this map function what do this map function you can say there, it takes the current element on the iterable and then it pass it to the function that we pass it here. Means and then it then pass that value to a function, and with the value that is returned for each values, mean this will return again an array, and for each array part we then print it with a print statement. So here you can also take print was also a function, for each was also a function. So we were passing function to a function. This is somewhat known as functional programming. So I think this was enough for the introduction parts. Let's go with Flutter. You can install Flutter in your system with let me give you an introduction for that, how you can install. Like basically I think most of you will be using Windows, so I will go for the first Windows only. You can install the Flutter stable this file here, and then you can extract it to your C drive. After that, extracting the folder means not C drive, any drive that you want. After that, extracting to your folder, what you can do, you can create a edit path variable. If you don't know what is path variable, while you were creating or installing your setup, ask us. We will try to help you solve it out. If you have any doubt regarding technical work and how to install or how to have problem, you can ping us anytime. I will be there to solve your queries. So here, after extracting the folder, we will just update the Flutter path, and after that, our Flutter is ready to go. There is also a command line to Flutter Doctor, which automatically helps in getting all the requirements is ready or not. So this must pretty much abstract all the things, and you can get all the parts from here. And if there is something missing, you can get a proper description, and you can download it from like that. Again, if you have any doubts while installing the setup, I will be there. You can ping me uh, on that Discord channel or anywhere. I will be trying to solve you. Me or Srijan, anyone will be there. But not we will go for installation part for this time as it will take so much of time. This is the website. Everyone, I want everyone to open so that we can do a hands-on along with everyone. Open the link and then register yourself to this Flutter platform, and then we will continue. If anyone having doubt in this also, they can raise your query here. I pasted the link in the chat section. Okay, so let's wait for 5 minutes so that everyone can set up their workspace, and then we will start working from here only. So anyone able to set up their project, this screen? So basically, this is a Flut lab. What is do? This is a type of emulator or an IDE So you don't have to do installation setup right now. You can do that later in your free time. Here I will be able to make and help you understand all the things here easily. So I'll opt out for this, but you can use the VS Code or Android Studio, whichever you suit. And after the installation, you can try on that also. This is basically I've used for having a online and hassle-free ID, and where you don't have to install anything. Just create an account here, and then we will create a. So if everyone is ready, let's click on this project. Give a code to choose code base as a. Let's choose this a simple hello world for first now. We can then create a project name. Not go for hello world. Let's go for stateful click counter. Get for the code base to stateful click counter. Name it any name you want to give. Have a package name like this. So in the code base, choose the stateful code click counter, give any project name, and in the package name, give any name. But go for this semantic com dot your name and then the project name. And don't click on this null safe. We will come out to that later. Make this uncheck only. So after that, click on create button. If anyone has doubt or anyone left behind, raise a query in the chat section. We will stop. So you can see where here I have created I got a new project created. Click on this project. So here you can see we have a folder structure here. We have ID here and we have a output and terminal here. Let me give you a brief introduction here. What is this? This is our Hello project. We have Android files, which is basically Android requirement files for running the application in the Android host. And then we have a iOS for running same application in the iOS. We have a web part also, means you can run the same application on web also. So basically, in the stable version of Flutter, you can run on Android, iOS, and web. But now in the you will be able to have one desktop experience too. Means you can run the same application to your monitor, means computer, Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. So this is the great advantage for having a cross-platform framework like Flutter. So inside the library folder, this is the folder where you all will be doing your work. Currently, we have a one file which is main.dart. Let me build the application. Click on this play button. Select this. Select this web one and then click on play. Yeah, as said by Digvijay, we are having a one only. So if you want, please call your friend to join in if they want to learn. This is the opportunity for you only, so that you can learn and have a way or the flood new technologies like this. So after your project has built, click on this calculator. You will be presented at a screen like this. Let it wait to open. You can see the emulator part. So this is the code, and this code only put out this much. This we have a app bar here, we have a test, we have a counter, and we have a button here. So only I will go through the code now. So let me go through the code once. So in the top, we have a material package, which we have imported from the Flutter package. And this function basically, this import basically provide the functions like run app, stateless widget, and stateful widget. We will come to stateless and stateful widget in a minute. But let's go, like if we comment out this function, we will get errors like this. You can see this run app, this stateless widget, this widget function, this widget variable. These all are inside this Flutter import. So with this import, we actually gain these functions, and then we created a main function. This is the function which is started when our application is installed. You can see this equal and less than sign. This is basically a fat arrow notation. Means the proper way to do that, or the easy way like you also do, is like this. Means so this is the way like you do in normal programming in Java or Swift, I don't know. But with the fat arrow notation, when you have only one line of code inside the function, you can use the fat arrow notation like this. So basically, when you have a one line of code, you can use this type of arrow notation. This thing about which is so inside the state.
There is a network issue from Sir's side. He will join in just a minute.
Hello, am I audible? I think my network got disconnected. Let me reshare the screen. Where was I, Srijan?
Explaining things, but your voice was not coming clear. So could you explain like 3-4 minutes before what you were explaining after the fat arrow?
Okay. So in the top function, we imported the material class, material function, material file, which is present inside the Flutter package. And then we have a main function. As you know, main function is a top level function which calls whenever our program runs. So same here, we have a main function. Whenever our application loads, this function is called. So inside this function, we have a done app function which calls our class my app. So inside the my app, which basically inherits the stateless widget, we have a function which is overriding the build function present inside the stateless widget and returning a material app here. So material app is basically a way of we can say we are building an application. By with this material app, we can say to that like, hey, I'm building an application. So give me the important things that it will be required. So inside the material app, you can get the title, you can create a title and then create a theme function, which basically is where you can set your colors and type of style, font size, etc. And then inside the home, we have a my home page. Currently, we don't have any screen. Means we said that we have an application, but with this home only, I'm saying that this is our home page. Means this home page is not built currently. With this home only, we will be building our home page. So inside that home page, I'm passing an argument title, and with the home page constructor here, and I'm building a. Let me go through this once later on. Let me come through here only inside the build function again. So we have a scaffold. Scaffold inside we have an app bar. You can see here. and then we have a body where you can see a center, and then we have a text here. So like let me show you the speed of Flutter. Like let's say I don't like this blue color, I can change it to the red, and then click on this. You can see now fire button, bold button. When you click on this, in a second, our color gets changed. You can see that our whole application current color is changed by just changing a one line of code, and it's so fast that it don't get any time consumed. Like again, you can do that. Our color got changed. So with just changing a color variable here, and when I click on hot reload, our screen is rebuilded, and we don't have to build the screen from the starting. Means we don't have to compile it again and then to run it again. It's already compiled, and we just change the function from where it changes our color. So basically, this application is what when we click on this plus button, our variable this value gets changed. Like when we click on plus, our value is getting changed by this. So let's go for UI part only first, then we will move to the logic. So we are inside this home page, means this was the function which was saying that this is our application. Now this my home page is one of the page that will be present in our application. Right now our application is a single page, so we have only one class. Let's say you have three or four more pages, then you will have three or more classes regarding each class for each screen. So inside the scaffold is a way of architecturing means scaffold gives us an app bar, a body, and also some floating action button. Like if you are using any other platform, let's say React Native, you have to create this app bar from the scratch. But with this app bar function, which is already present in our this file, we can pretty much abstract out all the work by changing the title. We are having the title here, and this title is coming from here. You can see Flutter demo clicker. Let me change it to small something. So our title is changed, and like you want to add, like let's say we want to have a back button, like say let's you have a back button before the Flutter demo. So we can easily add a function of arguments here. uh, what was the argument name? That was leading. So leading is another argument. So basically app bar is also a function overloaded, means we can have the variables. These are the arguments that we can pass, and these are the some of the default values that are present if we don't pass these arguments here. So basically leading is vacant or null, we can say. But with this value, we can change it to something like, let open the icon function and have a icons dot close, say home. I click on the web emulator part. Sorry for that. Just a minute. Where was? So you can say we easily got a home button without doing any much of the coding, which basically this was all pre-written in the app bar function. We just have to use that variable. We can go for any other class also. These are the some icon library. You can check it here. So these are the material components that is present inside our material class, like app bar, bottom navigation. We can get the drawer, we can get the scaffold, we can get the tab bar, and other features. Which just means these all classes are pre-written by someone, by the developers. We just have to change the widgets according to our need, and we don't have to write all of them from the sketch. Let's say I want to have a back button here. Let's back it. You can wait for autocomplete also. It will automatically tells you how many icons are present here. Like you can see, I want to use this icon, let's say. can see our icon change. Same like you can use it on the right hand side also with the action argument. So basically, action arguments take an array of variables where you can put it same like these icons only, and you will get the icons. It's hidden inside the debug panel. Let me give it a padding here. We have a function of class. You can see a size box which can use to give a padding along with the height or width. Like let's say give it a padding of 50 so you can see it clearly. You can see that. Similarly, let's get to the our body part. So basically inside the body I'm telling to have a center element. Means I'm saying that everything that's come inside this parent widget, that should be a center align, and this center align is not this vertical one, this horizontal one. I'm not currently declaring any vertical alignment. I'm declaring only horizontal alignment. So with this center column or center tag, we are having a center alignment to the horizontally, and inside this center column, center widget, I'm having a child which is a column. If you are from the web developer, you know that flex
Basically, to have rows
across the screen and then columns. Same is here. We have rows and column for developing. Like if you want to have a widgets like top to down, then we use column, and if you want to have widgets like left to right, then we use row. So inside that column, now I am saying to have it vertically center. Like if we send it to start, now our code will start from the means our this line will be shifted to the up. You can see it's moved to the up. Same you can use the end. So our code and this vertically aligned is set by this main axis alignment to dot center. And inside this column has children. Notice that this center has only one child. Means inside the center we can have only one widget. So we use child. And but this column can take many number of widgets. Like I have a column from top to right, top to bottom. We can have a widget here, widget here, widget here, widget here. So we can have n number of widgets. That's why we have a children which accepts array of widgets. This is a way of declaring that we have an array of widgets. But for type conversion, we use the widget here. So basically we have widget of array in which our first widget is this text. You have pushed the button this many times. And the second text is our counter. And again we have a counter variable which is interpolated by our variable like this. But happens what when we have a single argument or we don't have a, we can simply remove this curly braces. And if you have any problem, let's remove that. This counter is a variable declared here, and then we are converting this counter variable to dot string so that we can show it here, because text function only accept the string. So this is the positional arguments, means this is the required arguments, we can't skip that. But this style is a optional argument, we can skip that. Like if we remove this line and then rebuild it, it's nothing changes, just we get the font size changed. But if we remove this line, then it will give me an error. Like you can see, text cannot be empty. This function should have a style component, which is basically a text string, you can say. And then we have at the bottom we have a action button, floating action button. This is again in our
so we don't have to do it again and starting from the
sketch. We have floating action button class which takes a functional callback. Means this function is called whenever this button is clicked. Then we have a tooltip which shows the hint text. Like if we hover over the, you can see that it shows the increment here. So this was coming from this tooltip. And inside this floating button, I'm saying to show me a plus button. Like I can make it to show a minus button. I can spot minus minus is not here. Right. You can go to the this variable here, and you can get the all icons name if you don't remember, like material UI icons. This is the material.io, which basically this was the design which is based on Flutter. So with all the components that you can see here, you can find all the components in your Flutter. Like let's say I want to have icons material design. Icons are pre in our Flutter directory. Like you can see these n number of icons which you can all use in your code. Like let's search for icon. Like this name was removed. So what we can do, we can com is name that was removed, and then we can use it here. Icons dot remove. Now you can see our icon change to this minus sign. So with just changing the icon, you can change the icons present in the renderer or our screen. Now let's go this increment counter function. So basically, this is the increment counter, which is basically nothing, just increase the counter by one. And this we have a set state function. Let's comment it out for once a second. Then I will show you what is the use of this set state. Print count. Like if you click on this button, you can see that our notice in the terminal our variable is getting incremented, but it's not showing here. Can anyone guess why? Like you can see our variable is changing here in the terminal, but it's not rendering in our screen. So basically, if you are a JavaScript developer or web developer, there is a hook used as use state, which help in rendering the value. Like what we do in this function, we are just incrementing the value, but we are not instructing our screen to rebuild this function. Like I'm getting my value increased, but it's not get noticed by this our application. This is changing internally. So this is what set state function do. Set state function basically calls our widget build again to build the screen again whenever this function value changes. Like you can see in the comment also, this call to set state tells the Flutter framework that something has changed in the state, which causes it to rerun the build method below so that the display can reflect the updated values. So if we don't use the set method, our counter will get updated, but it will not get updated to our screen. For getting it rerun in our screen or rebuild it in our screen, we use the set state method. Anyone have doubt till now? Sejan, I was audible, na?
Effective audible.
So if no doubt, so let's move further. Now this is now we can come to the stateful and stateless widget. State function. State
This is cracking. Sir,
widget.
excuse me, sir. Excuse
The
me,
function
Asmit sir. Asmit sir.
are hello Srijan. Now am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now,
Actually, it's raining outside and we have a network issue. So let's continue again. We
yes.
have two types of widget inside our Flutter. One is stateless widget and one is stateful widget. Now this stateless widget don't have a set state function.
Sir,
Means you
your
can't.
screen is not being shared. Could you please share?
Sorry for that. Is it is visible now?
Yes, sir. It's now visible.
So we have two types of widgets: stateless widget and stateful widget. The stateless widget don't have set state function, but stateful widget have set state function. Means the stateful widget maintain a state of all the variables that are present inside this class. Like we have a variable counter, so we are maintaining the state of this counter, and whenever the counter value changes, it again with the set state function we can re-render the screen. But in the stateless widget we can't do that. We don't track any variable, and we don't screen gets not changed according to it. So this stateful widget have to help us to have a state of your application. Like in the comment also, let me go through here. The widget in the home page of your application, it is a stateful, meaning that it has a state object. And this object that contains fields, the object affect that how it looks. Here is our state object, and it's currently tracking our counter variable. So whenever our counter variable changes and we have a set state function, it reruns this build method. So whenever our value changes, this build method is called again. I hope I was able to make you understand, but it's not. It will come to you when you started coding. So like let's say now we want to minus our code, means our counter to be move in a minus way. Like now you can see our terminal also showing that our variable is also showing the minus sign, and it's also getting rerun on our screen. So with this set state function, I'm calling the this build function again and again whenever this value gets changes. So this is the benefit of having a stateful widget. And if you don't know or get any confusion by when to use stateless and stateful, you can always use stateful widget, and you can have always stateful. But that will obviously have some cons, like that will slow your application speed. So whenever you don't have to maintain a state, go for a stateless widget. But whenever you have a value that gets changes whenever user interaction, go for a stateful widget. So this was all for this application. Let me repeat it again once again. We have imported our Flutter package here. We are having a main function which is calling our run app to run our application in our mobile with a my app class. This my app class extends the stateless widget, meaning that it don't have to maintain any state, just to build a screen. So then we are overriding the build method which are present in the stateless widget. Overriding means that I have to change the configuration of build method that is already present in stateless widget. This is function overriding or class overriding. Those who are Java developers, they can understand. Means this build function is already present in our stateless widget, but it's empty or maybe doing some other code. So we are saying that don't do that code, do that this code that I'm writing here. So we have a build function here, which is taking a material app and having a title. This title appears that when you have that recent application, that the small icon shows this title. Then we have a theme here which defines our color. You can go for any color from here. You can also use hexadecimal. And then we have a home page which are titled Flutter Demo. This Flutter Demo is shown here. Inside this home page, now this is a stateful widget, meaning it will have a state here. Now we are having a constructor here, which is basically taking this title value. Inside the curly braces means it's a default parameter. Additional parameters means if we don't pass the title, then our app will also work. It's not working. Let's remove it for now. You can say here, yeah, it's saying that the null listing must be provided to a text widget. It was happening because I'm using this text variable here. Where I was using this widget or title I was using, but it's getting a null value, and this text don't accept a null value. That's why I was getting an error. So I'm passing a title variable here, but it's a default argument. If we don't using here, then we can skip that. Let's build it again. So we have a title here. Then we are creating this variable which stores this title value coming from here. And inside the state function, we are initializing a counter variable and our counter function which set the state of our screen by decrementing our counter variable. Then we have a build function here, which is basically returning our app structure with app bar, body, where body we have center aligned with columns as our child, means we have top to right to bottom our widgets. Then we have children inside it, two only widgets. Text widget, which is basically a hard-coded text, and then we have another text which contains the counter value with a font size 25. Like text style is just like CSS in JavaScript. You can set font style, font weight, and other parameters. You can set the color also. So basically, you can use the CSS here, just like CSS here. You can notice that our color changes to green here. And then we have a floating action button. We have an increment count, which is calling an increment counter whenever a button is clicked. And then we have a tooltip, and then we have an icon. So basically, this much is doing our code. So now, anyone have any doubt? Is anyone was following along, or have to run this code in your computer? Or if you are feeling any technical difficulties or query, you can paste on the chat box or you can speak up. Okay, so if no one have any doubt, let's move further. So basically, this was one of the Flutter boilerplate, which automatically give us a code. You can create a code from the scratch, means you don't need to use a boilerplate. You can get all the code by your hand, and you can get many templates here. Like let's say, go for any other template. Like you can see there, these are some of the templates that are pre-written that you can go through one by one. And if you get any technical difficulty here or any problem, you can contact me or Srijan anytime. I will try to help you out. So basically, this was the click counter I was showing you. Now you can see the navigation also. Let's go for this navigation part now. I will give you a quick introduction, not too deep. So this is the second application. You can go for again the web. You can select the web here and then click on build button. It will start building your application. Till by the time being it's get built, let me go through the code one by once again. So again we are having a material dart here. We are just again maintaining a main function. We are again creating a class myApp which is extending a stateless. And now we have a title here, navigation over screen, and we have a routes here. So in this project, we have two screen, basically a main page and a second page. Means in this project, I will be navigating through the screens. So I am declaring the routes. Like if we pass a slash here, then we will go to the main page. If we push the slash second, we will go to the second place. And we are passing the initial route as the slash. Means the first page whenever our application opens is this one. If we pass the second one, then whenever our application opens, then the So as we have a two screen, so basically we will have a minimum of two number of classes. One is main page and the second is second page. Now these both are stateless widget because we are not maintaining any counter or variable here which can change according to the screen. So we are using the stateless widget here. Let's wait for it to build. Classes container is just like a div. If you are from the JavaScript developer or web developer, container is just like a div. It contains all your code, a section of a code. Again, we have a column. That means we will be building widgets from top to the bottom. And then we have a button, raise button. That's screen get built. It will be more clear then. So you can see that we have a app bar in the top with the title navigation over screen. Then we have a container. Container is basically a div tag. And then we have column. Column is stating that we will have a top to bottom widgets. Let's say I want to have a widgets like left to right. Then we can simply change it to a row. Like check. And now you can see our two buttons will be aligned in the same line. You can see now that our button is aligned in the same line. So let's move it to the again. Let's move it to the column again. So let me show you some extra features of a column and row. Like currently, it's taking the minimum space, or it's currently you can say one by one. There is no space between them. You can use the functions like main axis alignment. When you use Android Studio VS Code, you will get the code suggestion, so you don't have to write all the code. Now again, our button is you can say one by one. Means our code is centrally aligned vertically, and we can make a container also wrap it inside a center widget. So again, it will get to the horizontally aligned to the center. So what I have done, I have wrapped the container inside another container which is a centrally aligned. Now our two buttons are centrally aligned, both vertically and horizontally. So inside this column, we have a raise button which says that navigation using routes, and the second button is say navigation using the push method. So basically, you can do navigation in Flutter in two types. Navigating using routes. These routes you have defined above. But if you don't define these routes or you don't want to use this method, you can use the navigator. Let me show you here. This one. So one of the method is shown as navigated or push named, and then the second page is the simple one, or you can define all the routes here above, and then call the string variable here. And the second method is to use material page route, which dynamically, or you can say statically, just pass the variable or class name that you want to show up the screen. Both will call this function only, but these are the two ways of calling navigating through the screens. Like when you click on the button, you will get navigated to the second screen. Now let's say I want to go back to the screen. Notice that without any feature, I already get the back button here. I didn't define any back button here. Our app bar only have a title here. But as our application comes to not that we transition from the one screen to another, so it already give me a back button to move back. Otherwise, we can have a back button here which already do the same thing. Like you can see in the second page, we have a raise button here with navigator.pop and the context. If you know the stack is a data structure where the content is pushed from the top to bottom, or it follows the last in first out. So basically, it does the same thing. Whatever it gets the push to the last time, it pops the last element from it. So in the last time, we push this screen, second screen, to the stack, and with that navigator dot of pop, it basically removes out the second screen, and we just navigated it to the back to the first screen. So basically, it was the navigation. I think that was pretty much over in our PPT. You can go through this material doc. You can go through this, what can say, Flutter documentation. It helps in very. I was also going through this course only. You can go through this. It will help you understand more of the concept here, and you will be able to do that. It will give you all the introduction to the widgets like text, row, column, stack, and container. You will learn that and then practice along with it. This was all for the session. Srijan, do you want to add anything?
Something like record time once in the PPT.
Record time is basically this function that's hot reload. Like let's say you are developing an Android development and you are using the Java Kotlin and native application. So what happens? Like let's say I was changing this variable, this value, I was navigating for that. Happens what in the native application when you click on the run again, then the code is compiled again and then it's rerun. Means we have to wait for at least I think 10 second, 10 to 15 second. But here what it does, it don't rerun all the application. It's just check the wherever our variable gets changed. Means our application is designed into a tree. In this Flutter, what we have a tree. In the top, we have a material, then a scaffold, and then center, and then container. So basically, we are having a tree. So what it does, it just see the tree wherever the value changes, and then rerun only the components that is required. So the whole application is not started from the again. Only the part that is changed is then rerun. So we get the speed here, like we our application gets built in very less time. So this was meant by record breaking speed, and that was possible in Flutter. This is a hot reload. There's one more function which is a hot start, which is even more faster than this. It is not present here, but when you code from the VS Code or Android Studio, you can see that. So this was I meant from the records breaking speed. So any other doubt? Srijan, do you want to add anything that I may have missed?
No, sir, not regarding Flutter. Like, if you want, you can add the Firebase part
Yeah.
if
Let's
needed.
go to the Firebase also. So
Yeah,
have
sorry for that time.
application Srijan, am I audible now? I shared the screen. Let's wait. Is my screen visible?
No, not right now.
Let's wait for a second.
Yeah, it's visible now.
But I'm having a network issue right now. Let's wait for a second to stabilize the network.
So Yash Batra has a question that what is raised button?
What is a raise button? Okay, I will go through that. First, let the network get stabilized. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
So basically, we have two or three types of button inside our material UI. One is raise button and one is simple plain button. So these are some type of buttons. Like you can see in this raise button, we have a shadow behind this button. So this is a raise button. We can have another button which you can view here. Let me go through back here. Like the web developer, you have a button in there. It's just to make the button according to your need. So what Flutter has done, Flutter has already made the 3 to 4 buttons according to the needs, and so that you can choose among them yourself only. I'm having a network issue. Let me reconnect again. Am I audible now? Yeah. So you can go through this material design concept where you can see all the buttons. Like here we have a buttons, like you can see. We have one button is a text button. This button is basically don't have any outline and only the text here. This is learn more button is a button which is inherited as a text button. Next button is like you can say a outline button. It has a boundary only with a simple boundary. And next is the raise button which I was using, this one, which have background and a background color also. So these are some type of buttons. You can go through the Flutter documentation. Like in the Flutter documentation also you can find that buttons. Flutter. So you can say these are some type of buttons here: drop down button, elevated button, floating action button, outline button, icon button. These are some type of buttons which you can use the func buttons according to your needs. And in the previous our project, the button needs as a base button, so they use as a rate button. You can use drop down if you are having a drop down here. You can use an icon button if you want to have an icon which clicks on something else. We can have text button, outline button, pop-up menu buttons. You can go through the docs. You can search for any components that you want and can get a reading about it. Is that clear? I was able to understand, I think.
Hope it was clear to Yash. We have another doubt from Shivani to explain stateless widget again.
Okay. So let's go through here. So basically, all the Flutter is basically all the components are widgets only. In the Flutter, everything is wrapped inside the widgets, and the widgets are of two types: stateless widget and stateful widget. Let's say you want have a component which don't change over time, or you don't have any gesture button that change the value of text. So you can go for stateless widget because it don't control any variable. It don't maintain or track the variables. Means our screen won't get our screen is static and our content is not changing by the time. Like you can see in this state, not our navigating using button means this text will not change. We don't have any button to change this text. So I'm using the stateless widget. Let's say I have a button which changes the text of navigating using route to something else. Then I will use the stateful widget because then it will track my text button, and whenever my text button value gets changed, it then re-render this screen. So this is the main difference between a stateless widget and a stateful widget. If you don't want to value any track, if you don't want to track any variable, go for the stateless widget. But if you have a dynamic content which changes over time, then only you go for the stateful widget. And still, if you have confusion, you can first go for you can make all your widgets as a stateful, because all stateful widget are stateless widget, but all stateless widget are not stateful. So if you have any doubt, if you have any confusion, you can go for stateful widget, as it will have all the qualities of stateless widget inside it. And with the coding only, you will able to understand it much better. So in a contrast, we can say if we don't have a variable that changes over time, or our content is static, then we go for the stateless widget. If our variable name gets changed or our content is dynamic, then we go for the stateful widget. If that was okay. Any other doubt? So this was all for the today's session. We have a 2-hour session, I think 1.5 hour. So if anyone have any else doubt, they can ask. You can, for the learning purpose, you can go for these Flutter documents. It's basically help you get all the document here. Otherwise, you can opt for any other online courses, YouTube or any other platform where you can learn. And if in case you are any technical difficulties, you can always contact us in the Discord channel, and we will try to help you solve the query. And not to mention, we will have our 2 projects this year, Google DSC, as we and I and Srijan are Google DSC lead. We are having 2 projects of Flutter application that we will be building this year session. So those who want to join, they can fill up the form and they can learn too if they want.
Like Firebase part, could you cover?
Yeah. Firebase, I completely forgot. So I was saying, like, this was the simple application. This application won't be used of anyone. This is only for learning purpose. Let's say you want to build a system or build an application, a full application that have many features like having a data over the internet, having authentication and all. And having that means you can say a full stack application. But Firebase what do that if you don't go for the Firebase, you have to set up a server for having the API calls. You will have to use the authentication over there. You have to use a database for storing your data over the online, because if you store in the application, it will get lost when you reopen the application. So we store the data on the cloud or database. So we all have to set up all of this. But what Firebase does, Firebase provides us as a backend as a service. Means we don't have to set up a server for this. Firebase already done this part, do this part for us. Basically, it abstract all the things required for this. Let me go through console. Let's go for one of my projects. Let's say I have a project which a chat application. So inside that this project, you can integrate the project from here. Like you can click on the add application, you can click on Android application, and then you add some of the details that will get implemented to the, like in the FlutLab only. It has the option to Firebase integration. Back to Firebase, you can connect this application to Android. Let's say I want to connect this application to this Firebase. So let's say create a new application. You can enable Google Analytics. You can select a plan. This Firebase is a free service. You don't have to pay anything. Some features are payable, but that you won't be needing as much as you want. So basically, all the basic features you can get that for free from this Firebase. Let's wait it to get. So this is our console. This build a project here, but our application is not yet integrated to this Firebase. We can click on this Android part because I think we will be. Let's say you are developing an Android application. What was the name given to this project? Allow these details. Then you download this Google Service JSON file. In the FlutLab, you can easily connect it like this by pasting this Google Service JSON file here. And these are the functions that you want to use. Let's say I want to use cloud function, and then I want to use authentication and cloud storage. Cloud Firestore is basically a database. Authentication is basically, let's say you are building an application that wants you to authenticate. You want to authenticate your users. So we will be using authentication for that. And cloud storage is a function like, let's say you want to add images to your storage. You can't add images to a database, but let's say you want to have a storage online where you add the people's images or maybe videos. For that you use cloud storage. So with the connect button, our application I think will be get connected to the Firebase. Then these are the functions that we have to do on our Android part. Means I have to change the Gradle files to the functions like it says. Like it says to add this line to our build.gradle file. So copy this line. It was saying to paste on inside the repository and Google. Repository and Google. I have to create a dependency. Insert dependency here. Paste that line inside here. And the second line it says to add this plugin. It says to go to the project app module and then build.gradle file. So this is our project Android app module and then build.gradle file. then add this plugin. And it was saying a one more line. Basically, I think it's already done. You can see the Firebase is already added there, so you don't have to add it here. And this FlutLab already done that. But if you are on the VS Code and Android Studio, you have to add these functions. So you can go remove this, skip this for now. Now our application is here. Now this Firebase provides other function like authentication. You can use the authentication method over here. This has a database over here. You can use the database. You can use the storage. Even you can host your application to the internet. Now this application basically website. So these are the features that Firebase provides us already without setting up a server. So Firebase, you can say that you don't have to set up a server for that. You can use Firebase as a server where you can get all the features and all these are abstracted. You just need to import their packages and that will be ready to go. So that was a brief introduction for Firebase. You can learn along when you do some projects. You can have it then. I think that was clear. Basically, it's a very vast technology. I can't cover everything. So it's a brief introduction here. You can go through these videos and understand what the cloud storage function does, what the authentication does. Like, let's go for authentication first. So that was a brief introduction for how Firebase authentication works. Similarly, you can go for other features like basically if you are building a simple application, authentication Firebase Firestore database will be much enough. But you can go for other features like real-time storage, hosting function, machine learning, and then here analytics functions. These all are provided by Firebase, and you don't have to create a specific function for all of that. Srijan, is that was okay?
Was okay.
I think if no one has doubt, we can end the session. Anyone have any doubts? Okay, so I think I should end the meeting. Srijan, do you want to add anything?
Nothing required.
Anyone else wants to anything to add? Okay, so it was nice having a session with you all. Thank you for your time. We hope a better future for you all and have practice. If you I got a